experience of watching England as a kid in 2002. Are you, in the last few years or since you became professional, are you one of these people who you consider yourself an England fan, you know, where you'd watch England games during the international break as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'd watch absolutely religiously every one. International breaks tend to be when I'd go away and spend time with the family. But yeah, definitely in the build-up to tournaments, we've watched all of the tournament games going through, and yeah, listen, I've always dreamt of playing for England. I'd love to get some minutes and play for England, and yeah, I'm a big supporter.
And during the Euros, where were you, and were you watching your last Euros? What was it? Where were you?
Yeah, well, we were sort of busy renovating a house up in Newcastle, so I was in an Airbnb at the time. So I remember I sat there with family watching that and just being gutted for the lads. I think you see how close they've come. Probably similar to the situation we had at Newcastle, where it's been such a long time since England's won something, and it's just going to take that one team to sort of get through that ceiling and break that barrier. So yeah, in the final before Italy, it was the same sort of thing. Sat there watching the penalties, gutted for the lads, but as I said, we've got an opportunity, and it would be a real shame for this sort of generation of players who are very talented, for them not to come away with a trophy, which I think they've definitely deserved.
Hi Dan, just taking you back to Thomas's opening address last night, did he spell out that the goal was to win the World Cup?
Yeah, he said that the goal is to put another star on the jersey, and speaking to the lads after, everyone was very impressed with how he came across, with his vision of what he wanted to do, and like you could just see looking around that people were tuned in and really want to buy into that.
And I was going to say, you mentioned the 20 plus 24 training days, a few other details. Is there anything else that you really took away from that opening address? It
was probably more just about that brotherhood that he was speaking about. As I said, I think more the way he would like to play and what formation he would like to do. We've not really getting to that point yet, but for that initial meeting, it was more probably about a mentality and how he wanted us to act around each other, and sort of what the differences were. He'd spoke about that he'd spoken to players from previous tournaments and from other countries, and about what the difference was between where they went out in early rounds and what happened when they won it, and what the differences were. And a lot of it was about interactions that he spoke about in the NBA. So that the best teams historically in the NBA are normally the teams who are sort of like high-fiving each other, picking each other up, and have a lot of those interactions. And I think knowing that we do a lot of that in Newcastle and speak about it, that it can just sort of keep people switched on and give people little bits to keep motivation levels high. And yeah, so I think that's something that we'll probably be looking to implement a lot more.
Okay, we'll go Simon, Jason, Dave, and then we'll finish with Andy down there.
Hi Dan, congratulations on the other day. When I know you were saying at the start of last week this was beyond your wildest dreams, but you've ended one long trophy drought. I mean, what would it mean to go all the way next summer?
Yeah, can't really wrap my head around that, to be honest. But yeah, similar. As I said, I see a lot of similarities between sort of Newcastle and England in that respect. So yeah, it would be amazing for everyone associated with the whole country, really. And we've got a long way to go, but I said, like, from speaking to him last night, I've got confidence that everything will be done possible to try and finally bring the trophy home.
Dan, a lot's going to be made of your story. Obviously, it's a fantastic story, the journey you've made. What would you say to a 21-year-old Dan Burn now, from where you are then to where you are now?
Yeah, just don't give up. I think just be resilient. I feel like I've had knockbacks really from when I was a kid. Being at Newcastle when I was young and sort of being released from there, and then like not making county teams and not playing for local teams, and I feel like I just really had this chip on my shoulder that I wanted to prove people wrong. And I feel it's probably the way that I was brought up from my parents. It was more that sort of you get out of life what you put into it, and I just really wanted to have no regrets in my career, where I couldn't be sitting one day thinking, oh, I wish I could have trained harder, I wish I could have looked after myself more, I wish I hadn't have went out, I wish I had done this. I just wanted to know that when I finished my career that I've completely squeezed everything that I could from it.
And what would and of all the messages you've had since you've obviously had the call up and obviously Sunday as well, what's the one that's meant the most to you?
Yeah, probably family messages. I think it's hard because those are probably ones that I'm most emotional. But like, I've had so many messages. Like, you can imagine I've had like the same phone number since I was 16, so I'm probably going to have to change that at some point. As I was stressing us out, not replying to everyone, so I sat last night for about 2 hours just texting everyone back. But it's amazing how much people have impacted you, and from the messages I've had, how long I've known people that I've impacted them as well, and it's been really nice, and I'm very, very thankful for everyone who's been in touch and sent us a message.
Okay, 2 to finish, Dave. There.
Hi Dan. You said Thomas is very keen to people to sort of speak their mind within the group. Is that, they say that there's sort of a lack of leaders in the game these days, and people don't do so much talking. Is that necessarily true? And is it true of you that you are that kind of leader, someone who talks and isn't afraid to tell people home truths when they need to?
I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I can't comment on what's been here before me because I've not been here. And
I think in football in general, not England.
Possibly, I think so. I feel like it's. I feel like working under people like Graham Potter and Eddie Howe, who really, a lot of the time in meetings, sometimes people don't want to speak up because they find it, I don't know, a bit embarrassing and stuff. I feel like the US, I love NFL and all that sort of stuff, and I feel like they're really good at they're not bothered. They'll just say, if they feel something is going to help the group, they'll just get up and say that. And I feel that's something probably English football in general could learn from, because I feel like we'll learn most about each other, and you get close to each other as a team when you do that. You sort of take a risk and stand up in front of people and speak and be a bit more vulnerable.
If that means having a go at Jude Bellingham or Harry Kane, would you'll be happy to do that?
Absolutely, yeah, I've got no problem with that.
Finish with Andy over here.
Hi Dan, congratulations. You've mentioned him quite a few times, Eddie Howe, and he's one of the people that you will listen to. Could you just tell us specifically anything that he's brought to your game that's improved you as a player and as a character?
Yeah, it is more leadership stuff, to be honest. He's really I think Eddie's really pushed me out of my comfort zone by things that he's asked us to do sort of around the pitch, or as I said, a lot of it's more about the mentality around the place. He does meetings where he sort of encourages people to stand up and talk about what motivates them, which is stuff that in the past I've not been keen to do. I think no one really likes getting up and speaking in front of people, but as I said, I felt like we've become a lot closer as a team when people have done that. We do things at Newcastle called Timeline, where you've got to stand up and speak for 10 minutes about anything, but it tends to be about people's careers and where they've come from. And when you sort of see people from all over the world, like we've got Brazilian players and people from everywhere, and you see what they've been through to get to this position, I feel it really gives you a different perspective on each other and brings us closer together, and I think it's something that's worked really well for us. 10 minutes is a long time. It is. Well, it's not when you get up. I've had to set a timer because I go way over the 10 minutes. Nick Pope's was the longest, honestly. He had a 2-parter, but it was good.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, Dan.
That's been 30 minutes in here, so we'll call it there. Thanks, guys.
Nice one. Thank you very much.